or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle, and for the next hour I will be reading from the May 3rd issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story: High Gloss. Revisit the glamorous world of print fashion magazines with these movies and shows by Katie Walsh. Back in the mid-aughts, the height of glamour for a woman's cinematic career was at a fashion magazine, best seen in the iconic fashion film The Devil Wears Prada, based on the thinly veiled novel by Laura Weisberger, who once worked for Anna Wintour at Vogue. Anne Hathaway starred as Andy Sachs, an aspiring journalist who ends up working as the assistant for the powerful Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep, and the editor-in-chief of Runway magazine, learning a lot about herself and fashion in the process. 20 years later, Andy and Miranda, Anne and Meryl are back in the sequel, The Devil Wears Prada 2, now in theaters, which obviously requires a revisit of the original film, which is streaming on Hulu. But perhaps that viewing might spark a craving for more movies set in that milieu, the glorious, somewhat bygone world of print magazines. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. The 2003 rom-com How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days stars Kate Hudson as a writer at Composer magazine, who's tasked with a piece of stunt journalism by her editor, played by Bebe Neuwirth. Her victim is played by Matthew McConaughey, but of course the pair fall in love instead. Stream How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days on Paramount Plus, Stars, or Canopy. 13 Going on 30. A year later, in Jennifer Garner's gender swap big reboot, 13 Going on 30, a 13-year-old girl wishes to be older and wakes up as a stylish women's magazine editor. Stream it on Canopy or rent elsewhere. Trainwreck. This archetype persisted into the 2010s with the Amy Schumer vehicle Trainwreck, directed by Judd Apatow, clearly patterned on these rom-coms of yore, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days vs. X times Sex and the City. Schumer plays a wild child writer at men's magazine Snuff, who's assigned to profile a handsome sports doctor, played by Bill Hader, by her editor, a tan transformed Tilda Swinton. Wouldn't you know it, these two crazy kids fall in love. LeBron James, John Cena, and Vanessa Bayer co-star. Stream Trainwreck on Stars or rent on other digital platforms. Ugly Betty. The world of women's magazines have found great traction as settings for TV shows too, with the Prada like Ugly Betty hitting the small screen in 2006. America Ferrera stars as an ugly duckling working at the fashion magazine Mode for Imperious editor Vanessa Williams. In the show, based on the Colombian telenovela, stream it on Hulu. The Bold Type also mined this territory as a setting for a coming-of-age friendship story, following the lives of three besties, played by Katie Stevens, Ashley D, and Megan Fahey, as they work at Scarlet under the guidance of an editor, played by Melora Hardin. Stream all 5 seasons on Hulu and HBO Max. The September issue. But if you want to see the real thing in action, you'll have to go to the source. R.J. Cutler's 2009 documentary, The September Issue, follows the production of the massive Vogue September issue, with interviews and behind-the-scenes look at the work of editor Anna Wintour and her closest associates, Andre Leon Talley and Grace Coddington, as the team works to put together this annual fashion Bible. Stream it on Prime Video. Dear Ms., A Revolution in Print. But women's magazines aren't always about fashion. Sometimes they're about feminism too. That's detailed in the fantastic 2025 documentary Dear Ms., A Revolution in Print, about the trailblazing feminist magazine Ms., which is streaming on HBO Max. Minx. Also check out the canceled too soon gem Minx, about raunchy sex-positive magazine for women, set in the 1970s, streaming on Netflix. Real Emily from Devil Wears Prada Speaks Out by Jessica Schradelbeck. More than 2 decades after Lauren Weisberger released her novel The Devil Wears Prada, the inspiration behind Miranda Priestley's fashionable and accelerated senior assistant Emily Cheriton has identified herself. Celebrity stylist Leslie Freemer declared herself to be the real Emily during the latest episode of Vogue's The Run-Through podcast. It comes just ahead of the release of The Devil Wears Prada 2, sequel to the 2006 film based on Weisberger's best-selling book. I am Emily, Freemer told Vogue boss Chloe Malley, the successor of Anna Wintour, who stepped down as the editor-in-chief of American Vogue in June 2025 after 37 years. Freemer's character is famously portrayed by Emily Blunt in the fashion film franchise, while her boss, the Winter-inspired Priestley, is played by Meryl Streep. Weisberger based her 2003 book on her experiences at Vogue and her time as Winter's junior assistant. Her character, plucky journalist Andre Sachs, is played by Anne Hathaway in the movie, with Stanley Tucci rounding out the star-studded cast. Freemer says she was actually the one who hired Weisberger, adding that they worked closely together during the latter 8 months at Vogue. I definitely told her 1,000,000 girls would kill for the job, she said, quoting a beloved line from the movie. That was definitely my line because I actually really believed that, and I knew that she didn't necessarily want to be there. Freemer also revealed she'd already left Vogue when The Devil Wears Prada hit the bookshelves. She added that she only found out about it after she got a call from Winter. I got a call from Anna's office saying that she wanted to see me, she recalled. I was petrified, Winter said. Who's Lauren Weisberger? And I said, she was your junior assistant, Freemer continued, and she's like, well, she wrote a book about us, and you're worse than me. She added that the book felt like a betrayal when it was released, and she and Weisberger never talked again after she left. Television. Courting comedy. For Running Point, Kate Hudson draws inspiration from Mom to Lead the Team by Bruce Miller. Kate Hudson didn't need to search to play a high-powered businesswoman in Running Point. Mom Goldie Hawn, she says, is the perfect role model. Incredibly ambitious, getting the movies that she wanted to get made and producing them, Hudson said. She was the first female producer that starred in her own movies and got things done like that. Others, like studio head Sherry Lansing and producer Linda Obst, also were great champions. Lansing, she said, trusted me at a very young age and empowered me to speak out about the things I felt were important. Dance and yoga teachers also were influential. Good thing, too, because Hudson's character is always on the move, dealing with brothers who try to wrest control of the family's professional basketball team. Women, she says, are amazing at strategizing. Men are great executors. They're not afraid to take certain risks. I hate to say these things, but it really does take double the effort for women, Hudson says. Women have maybe 1 or 2 chances to stay on top, and the pressure is much greater. In the second season of Running Point, Hudson's character, Isla Gordon, is surprised to discover her brother, played by Justin Theroux, is back in the business, hoping to replace her in the corner office. That ups the pressure and creates tension in the family. They say, don't get into business with family, Hudson says, but there's something innate that we all know, that if you get it right, it's incredibly powerful. but it can go horribly wrong and it can be the worst possible decision to make. Watching the sibling rivalry grow is part of the series' fun, she says. The arts is an impossible place to be competitive, and you just have to be so focused on what you're trying to do or what you want to be. Sports is the exact opposite, Hudson said. If you don't have that competitive spirit, it might be hard to be in that business. To prep for the second season, Hudson binge-watched the first and discovered how fast it moved. That's what you want for a comedy. This is my first time doing a second season of anything, and it's really nice because you get to go further and you don't have to lay so much foundation. You can hit the ground running. Co-stars Thoreau, Brenda Song, and Drew Traver are like family. We just had the best time together, she says. Co-creator Mindy Kaling put together a great team and found people who could laugh at themselves and not be easily shaken. It felt like we have known each other forever, Hudson says. The actors do what's needed to get the laughs. You just have to go for it, Hudson said. Physical comedy is hard, but I like being physical. To be able to add physical comedy or anything like that is great, and it's just so much fun for me. The Stance could be one that goes back to Hawn, an Oscar winner and star of some of the most memorable comedies on screen. She reminded Hudson of the power of laughter. My mom always said, when you sit in a theater and you hear laughter, it's like the kiss of God, Hudson said. For me, at home, to be with your family and to be able to enjoy a show that everyone can relate to is an incredible feeling. Amazon mulling Apprentice reboot with Donald Jr. by Jessica Schradelbeck. Donald Trump Jr. could be poised to succeed his father. According to a Wall Street Journal report, Amazon is mulling a reboot of The Apprentice, with Don Jr. as the potential star. The reality competition show, which previously ran on NBC from 2004 to 2017, was originally hosted by his father. It's also where President Trump coined one of his original catchphrases, "You're fired." Amazon declined to comment on specifics, but told the newspaper that the show wasn't in active development. Since our acquisition of MGM, we have had preliminary internal discussions about what's next for The Apprentice as a property, a spokesperson said in a statement to Variety, with insiders adding that there have not yet been any discussions with anyone outside the company. Amazon co-owns the rights to The Apprentice with Trump's production company, Trump Productions. Already a well-known businessman and real estate mogul, Trump's hosting The Apprentice made him a household name. He appeared in 186 episodes between 2004 and 2015, and the series was nominated for several Emmys during its run. The reality show followed a group of aspiring entrepreneurs as they faced off in challenges designed to test their skills and business acumen. Every week, a contestant would be eliminated with Trump exclaiming, "You're fired," before sending them on their way. The winner, meanwhile, would earn a chance to be mentored by Trump. Should the reboot get a green light, it could appear on Amazon Prime. It would only be the latest project starring a member of the Trump family. In January, the streamer released Melania, a documentary about the First Lady's days leading up to her husband's second presidential inauguration. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the May 3rd issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Music. Star quality. Ringo talks going country. Fitness at 85 and outlasting Paul McCartney on tour by Kim Willis. Get in that gym. Loosen up, he advises. You can blame me. That Ringo made me come in here. Famously fit at 85, the Beatles drummer still scrambles up to his kit with ease. You know, there's no special way, it's just that no one can do it for you, says Starr, clad in a black track jacket, a peace sign necklace, and his ever-present shades. You got to get out of bed and do it. His new album, Long, Long Road, out now. Again, co-written and produced by T-Bone Burnett, with guest appearances by Sheryl Crow and St. Vincent. It stars third country album after 1970's Boku Blues and last year's Look Up, and he'll chase him with a tour with his long-running all-star band in May and June. After the success of his 2025 collaboration with Burnett, we just sort of thought, let's do another one, he says. I sing, I play drums. He puts some meat on them, and it's really worked well. This interview has been edited for length and clarity. Do you consider yourself a country artist primarily now, or is this a detour? Right now, answer. Right now, that's all I am, is a country artist. I think just artist is enough. You know, we play pop, we play rock, and we get back very strongly into country because of Bone. Congratulations to you and Barbara Bach on 45 years of marriage. What does Barbara understand about you that most people don't? Well, I think everything. She knows who I am, how I am, and I know how she is. We have a great time, and you know, we've had rows. We do things like that. And in the very early days, we came to the conclusion that nothing goes past midnight. No matter how the day has been, midnight, okay, that's the end of that. Start again the next day. 10 years of impact. Beyonce's Lemonade album created a seismic shift when it dropped a decade ago, by Cassie McKay. Beyonce Knowles Carter released her critically acclaimed visual album Lemonade 10 years ago, shifting the landscape of music forever. The Grammy-winning singer dropped her sixth studio album Lemonade in April 2016 through her Parkwood Entertainment Company and Columbia Records. The 12-track project featured the Grammy-winning song Formation and the track Freedom, which garnered even more national attention as the official campaign song of Kamala Harris' 2024 presidential campaign. Before its release, Beyonce gave fans almost no warning. The album was launched immediately following an hour-long HBO special of the same name. It was initially made available exclusively on the streaming service Tidal, reinforcing the status as a visual album rather than a traditional rollout. The album featured superstars Kendrick Lamar, The Weeknd, James Blake, and Jack White. We have to remember that before Beyonce's albums used to come out on Tuesdays, said Katrina Brooks, Michigan State University professor and editor of Anthology. The Lemonade Reader, Beyonce really came forward with Lemonade, dropping an album with it when it's done and when she's ready for it to be heard. Cultural significance. Often considered one of the most important albums of the 2010s, Lemonade blends music, poetry, and imagery to explore themes of love, betrayal, resilience, and Black identity. With its release, the project expanded musical boundaries by incorporating film and genre-crossing sounds. It also championed Black Southern womanhood in ways none of her contemporaries had done on such a wide scale, Brooks said. The album also presented a different approach to how celebrities might respond to rumors. Throughout the album, Beyonce appeared to address long-standing rumors of trouble in her marriage with rapper Jay-Z. The album framed these themes through storytelling and symbolism rather than direct confirmation. Lemonade on the charts. Numbers-wise, the album was a massive success. Lemonade debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and hit number 1 on Billboard's top R&B hip-hop album chart. The project quickly became one of the year's best-selling albums. All 12 tracks debuted on Billboard's Hot 100, including Formation in the top 10 and Sorry and Hold Up in the top 15. It was the first time a female artist charted 12 or more songs at the same time, surpassing Taylor Swift's then record of 11.
set on November 13th, 2010. All 12 songs also charted on Billboard's Hot R&B Hip Hop songs. The album was nominated for Album of the Year at the 59th Annual Grammy Awards, though it lost to Adele's 25. Lemonade won Grammys for Best Urban Contemporary Album and Best Music Video for the lead single Formation. Things to Do by Tony Roberto. One of the most awesome things about living in Buffalo is that we had Niagara Falls right in our own backyard. People from around the world travel great distances to see the falls, while it is just a quick car ride for us. Nothing gets us more up close and personal to the falls than a tour on the Maid of the Mist, now open for the 141st season. The 20-minute boat tours go right up to the base of the American Falls, Horseshoe Falls, and Bridal Veil Falls. You'll be given an iconic blue souvenir rain poncho to wear, but be prepared to get wet from the mist. That's part of the fun. Your ticket also includes a stop at the observation deck that extends over the Niagara Gorge. There's no need to make a reservation since tours depart in all-electric catamaran-style boats every 15 minutes from the lower gorge in Niagara Falls State Park at Prospect Point. A new online option called Wait Times, Trends, and Insights provides information on wait times, so check it out before you go. Lockport Monday Night Cruise, 5:30 to 8:30 Mondays starting May 4th at the Ida Fritz Park, West Avenue, Lockport. Speaking of cruises, cruise night season for car enthusiasts is also officially open. The Lockport Monday Night Cruise Optimist Club starts its weekly event May 4th. It will be held each Monday through September. Bring your car, bike, or truck to display or go to enjoy the sights, entertainment, and food. There will be 22 cruises plus 5 live entertainment nights and demonstrations by community organization. Rick Mann, also known as Jukebox Tonight, will be there every Monday, excluding live band nights. Theme nights in May include Community Night on May 11th, Firefighters Night with Fire Safety on May 18th, and Memorial and Military Night 4 to 8 on May 25th. Bring a donation for the local food bank drive. Other cruise shows include Cars and Coffee Car Show from 9 to 1 the first Sunday of each month, including today, May 3rd, at Wimbledon Lanes, Center Road, West Seneca. Also, Drifters Car Cruises 4 to 8 Wednesdays at Suncliff on the lake, Lakeshore Road, Derby. Wendell Rivera Latin Cointreau, 6 to 8:30 Tuesday in the Hunt Art Gallery, BB's, at the Gallery Main Street, Brisbane building. Though Cinco de Mayo is not really celebrated in Mexico, since it's more of an regional than a national holiday, we celebrate in Buffalo at the many bars and restaurants hosting festivities. One event is hosted by Jazz Buffalo in the Hunt Gallery and BB's in downtown Buffalo. The Wendell Rivera Latin Jazz Quartet, Rivera, Lisa Hasselbeck, Nelson Rivera, and Calvin Rice will perform, and there will be traditional Mexican cuisine. The idea of holding events in this double location is that you can listen to music and explore current exhibits inside both galleries, including Polly King, Niagara Falls Authority on Power, Portraits, and Fantasy, on view through July 1st in BB's. Larkin Spring Artesian Market, 10 to 2 Tuesday in Larkin Exchange. Just in time for Mother's Day, this annual shopping market returns to Larkinville, so you can buy gifts for your mom or yourself. Shop for artesian creations such as handcrafted jewelry, house decor, art, and food. There's free parking in the visitors lot on Exchange Street. The Whalers, 50 years of positive vibrations, 8 p.m. Wednesday in Ashbury Hall, Delaware Avenue. Restanum and Vibration was the 8th studio album by Bob Marley, which is one indication of how long it took the late reggae star to break free of his cult status and become the international icon it remains today. Even now, 50 years after its release, there's still reason to celebrate this influential reggae album, as calls for unity and such songs as Positive Vibration, Roots, Rock, Reggae, and War remain important today. This tour celebrates the album and legacy of Bob Marley and the Wailers, with select cuts from Rastaman Vibration plus other classics. The band is now under the leadership of Aston Barrett Jr., son of bassist Aston Family Man Barrett. Barrett Jr. played his father in the 2024 biopic Bob Marley One Love. Vocalist is Mitchell Brunnings. Doors open at 9, Bayville. Quick calendar. Buffalo Flow Jam fundraiser, 6:30 today, Sunday at Buffalo Ironworks, Illinois Street. 4th annual event with Queen City Jamboree. Harmonica Chamber Singers 20th anniversary concert, 4 p.m. today in St. Joseph Cathedral, Franklin Street. Afghan Wigs 40th anniversary tour with Mercury Rev, 7 p.m. Monday in the Town Ballroom. Hairspray, presented by Music Fair Theater, runs Thursday through May 24th in Shea's 710 Theater. Comedian Jim Norton, 7 p.m. Thursday in the Town Ballroom. Starring Buffalo's Rent in concert, 2 p.m. Saturday in Shea's Buffalo Theater. Just announced. Morrissey, 8 p.m. September 22nd in Shea's Buffalo Theater. ABBA, the concert, a tribute to ABBA. Doors at 6 p.m. August 16th, Terminal B, the Outer Harbor. Taking Back Sunday with Thrice and Saves the Day. Doors at 6, September 29th at Terminal B, the Outer Harbor. Fred Armisen, 7 p.m. October 10th, University of Buffalo Center for the Arts, Main Stage Theater, Amherst. Jazz of Kleinhans, all concerts set 3 p.m. in the Mary Seton Room of Kleinhans Music Hall, unless noted. Nicole Zaratis, November 8th. Swinging in the Holidays with Champion Fulton Trio and featuring Carmen Bradford plus Vanessa Pereira, December 6th. Ann Hampton Calloway celebrates Harold Arlen, February 7th. Alfredo Rodriguez, March 14th. Branford Marsalis and Diane Reeves celebrate the ballads of John Coltrane, April 22nd in the main hall, Kleinhans. Books. Plum's memoir opens up about Jan Brady and Beyond by Peter Larson. Anaheim, California. Eve Plum sat on a sofa in a Hollywood studio bungalow in 1969. A 10-year-old child actress listened quietly as two men decided her fate. "Well, she looks like our girl," one said to the other. Plum recalls in the opening pages of her new memoir, and that was pretty much that. The two men were Sherwood Schwartz, creator of the Brady Bunch, and TV director John Rich. They talked with her for 10 minutes, but she's not read a single line of a script for them, nor done a chemistry test with any of the 5 other child actors cast as the Brady kids. But Plum looked like Florence Henderson, who'd been cast as Carol Brady, a single mother bringing up 3 girls of her own, and that was all it took. After 4 years in Hollywood making TV commercials for Mattel dolls and Glad sandwich bags and playing guest roles in shows such as The Virginian Lassie and Mannix. Plum had landed her first TV series and a name, Jan Brady, that excited fans still accidentally call her to this day. Happiness Included, Jan Brady and Beyond arrived in bookstores last week. In it she writes about the Brady Bunch, but also about her life before and after the series, which ran for 5 seasons, from 1969 to 1974, and forever after in syndicated reruns. It's not a Hollywood tell-all filled with tawny tales of child actors gone wild. For Plum, the worst trouble she got into was a teenage getaway driver for 2 friends who decided to go shoplifting at a mall near Plum's childhood home in the San Fernando Valley. In a way, Happiness Included is the kind of straightforward memoir you'd expect of a veteran of the family-friendly The Brady Bunch series. It feels good in a way to know that after 6 decades in Hollywood, Plum's hardships amount to little more than a failed first marriage and the career struggles that any actor knows. Plum, now 67, says she decided to write a memoir after growing tired of other people's requests for her memories. People had been asking me for years for stories to write in their book, she says, and I didn't ever want to do that. So I finally decided, well, I'll write my own book. Because if I was going to tell stories, it was going to be in my book. She worked with co-author Marcia Wilkie, and yes, she's aware of the humor in the fact that her writing partner shares the same first name as Marcia Brady, her occasional nemesis of an older sister. She chose to work with a co-writer because she figured she'd never written a book before, wanted to make sure the memoir was successful. It was a very pleasant process where she would ask me questions and I would tell her things. It was almost a very gentle therapy without any pressure to make any sort of progress. The process of remembering often led her to her earliest days in Hollywood, making commercials and TV shows starting when she was 6 years old. I really wanted to talk about that because it was so much fun and so precious and different, she says. Not that I didn't want to talk about anything else, but that was the main part for me, and probably the most vulnerable part. Her parents, Neely and Fiona Plum, both had creative backgrounds. Her mother had been a dancer before marrying and starting a family. Her father was a big band saxophonist who segued into record production, often working on movie soundtracks, including The Sound of Music, True Grit, and The Taxi Driver. In her memoir and in her conversation, Plum praises her parents for how they handled her alley acting work. Her father kept meticulous ledgers of every dollar she earned. Her mother shepherded her to auditions and jobs with an all-business attitude that only occasionally tipped into overprotectiveness. Her mother would fret if young Eve got her clothes, costumes, or day-to-day dirty. She writes that a tricycle she received as a gift as a child was only allowed to be used inside the house so as not to risk injury. All of which sometimes made her parents occasionally approval of some of Plum's more adult-oriented pursuits unexpected. In the 1970 TV movie The House on Greenapple Road, Plum played a little girl whose mother, played by Janet Leigh, disappears, leaving behind a blood-soaked kitchen for the child to discover. They also let her audition for The Exorcist, which is definitely not the kind of movie you'd expect to see Jan Brady appear in. And one of her first big roles, post-Brady Bunch, was the TV movie Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, in which she played a teen prostitute. On the set in those first weeks of making the Brady Bunch, Plum and the other children, McCormick, Susan Elson, Barry Williams, Christopher Knight, and Mike Lookinland, learned both their lines and how to read each other. It takes a while to check each other out and decide what your little hierarchy is going to be, Plum says, and that is always shifting. It was all pretty much even keel because the way that the show was written is that of a lot of us work together all the time, so it wasn't necessarily cordoned off into groups. Finding herself. After the Brady Bunch ended, Plum continued her busy career as a young actress, a sequel to Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway role, as Beth March in a miniseries of Little Women. In the 90s, she met Ken Pace, a saxophonist like her father, who had a day job in tech. They married in 1995 and have been together ever since, living in Laguna Beach for many years before moving to New York City for both of their careers. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the May 3rd issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Books. Eating Your Words. Find your next favorite recipe in the pages of these cookbooks by Kate Bradshaw. Spring brings with it sunny invitations to peruse weekend farmers markets and vibrant produce aisles. It's also a great time to find your next fix of inspiration in the pages of new cookbooks. Here are 5 new cookbooks that offer gorgeous recipes from culinary traditions around the world, from Greek kefteria to sea bass ceviche with fingered limes in an apricot saffron frangipan. Number 1, The Disastrous Spice Company Cookbook by Sonia Javeri Kadri and Asha Lupi. Highlighting the work of the Diaspora Spice Company, a company that sources spices from regenerative farms in India and Sri Lanka. This cookbook includes 85 regional recipes covering 10 states across India and Sri Lanka. Learn how to make Kerala-style grilled prawns in 45 minutes or under. Contribute to a dinner party with an apricot saffron frangipan galette or cooked coconut lamb brahini for a Diwali feast. Recipe contributions, all women hailed from around India and Sri Lanka and were paid directly at rates as close to U.S. recipe development rates as possible, according to the authors. Number 2, I Sleep in My Kitchen by Marian Dodd with Emily Timberlake. Dodd, a Palestinian-American chef, grew up in a family with 10 kids whose parents ran the Pyramid, a restaurant in the Cleveland area, from 1996 to 2004. Dodd draws inspiration from her mom's approach to cooking and adds her own California flair. She loves teaching people about her food and her culture. That's why there's no secret recipes in our family. She writes about her mom in the cookbook's introduction. In its pages, you'll find recipes for dishes like mashakam, a flatbread with chicken, sumac and caramelized onions, macaronum bikalma, an Egyptian-style pasta bake, and segoya kofta, beef patties and tomato sauce. Number 3, Citrus Illustrated by George Geary. Geary, a former pastry chef with the Walt Disney Company, hails from Corona, California, a city near Riverside known as the lemon capital of the world, and celebrates all things citrus in his new cookbook. The book covers the histories of different citrus variants and highlights beautiful ways to use them in your cooking. In its pages, you'll find recipes for dishes like the grapefruit cake from the Brown Derby in LA, kumquat and chili baked salmon, shrimp and sea bass ceviche with finger limes, blood orange glazed carrots, tangerine maple barbecue spare ribs, and of course lemon curd. Number 4, Hello Home Cooking by Hamo Wally. A longtime chef contributed to the New York Times and the chef behind Brooklyn restaurant Strange Delight, Ed Whaley, shares recipes for dishes like tahini roasted swordfish, chicken and mochi dumpling soup, green beans with dill butter, and kofta meatballs in the pages of this colorful, creative celebration of home cooking, putting a modern twist on nostalgic favorites. And number 5, My Greek Mom's Recipes by Gus Castellanos. The author behind this cookbook isn't your traditional chef. In fact, he's a stand-up comedian. Castellanos rose to online fame first from impersonating his Greek mother and then began filming with her. Her wit and no-nonsense qualities and passion for food drew fans from across the internet before she died suddenly on vacation in Greece. Castellanos and his mom had been planning to write this cookbook together. You'll find recipes for traditional Greek dishes interspersed with heartfelt anecdotes and stories about Castellanos' mom and family. First and foremost, the 75 recipes in the cookbook are absolutely delectable, he writes. These are tried and true. But beyond this, the cookbook is an exploration of grief told through the lens of food. Some of these stories are funny, some are sad, some are both at the same time. I wanted to find ways to keep my mother's sharp wit alive in every recipe. Television. Gadabout. Baby Reindeer creator finds new changes in Half Man by Bruce Miller. Richard Gadd didn't show later scripts to the actors cast as the younger versions of Two Brothers and Half Man, his latest limited series. I didn't want him to think ahead where the characters go, he explains. They go through phenomenal change during the series. The Niles and the Rubens we meet later on in the series aren't the ones that we grew up with. In those first 3 episodes, a teenage Niall learns he's going to share his bedroom with Reuben, a thuggish peer who's going to be his brother. Reuben threatens him repeatedly and makes the kind of impression that could change him. In the 6 episodes, the two morph repeatedly, giving the actors playing each plenty of time to mime. Gadd plays the older Reuben. Stuart Campbell plays the younger version. Jamie Bell plays the older Niall. Mitchell Robertson is the younger Niall. We wanted them to stay close to the instincts they captured in their auditions, Gadd said. If they had too much knowledge, they would maybe influence things in the wrong way. Gadd, who created the Emmy-winning Baby Reindeer, wrote the first episode of Half Man before he even started on that series. By the time Baby Reindeer had exploded, I had already made up my mind that this is what I was going to do next, Gadd said. I didn't want to rest on my laurels. I needed to get back on the horse and do it again straight away. Distance, he said, made his heart grow fonder of the story. There was a lot I changed about it, but I went back and I did love it still, he says. Discovering what happens to their characters later in life wouldn't have helped Campbell and Robinson, Gadd says. Who's the same person they were when they were 15, 17, or 20? People who go through life tend to become more broken because they're harbored the kind of difficulties of life in the body and in the mind, Gadd said. Reuben lives so fast and so loose that something's bound to happen to him eventually. You can't keep that youthful vivaciousness all the way through. Campbell says the darkness, the hostility, the rage of Reuben is on the page. It was there from the first reading, Campbell says, but then we did work in the rehearsal process to make sure that we kept the lightness every day, consciously making sure that we continued to see this sort of unspoken connection between us. The more the two got to know each other, Robinson said, the more it actually happened. We kind of feel we're good mates anyway. Even though he spoke with Bell and Zoom, Robertson didn't have to worry about matching accents or mannerisms. I had the luxury of doing it, Robinson said. Then Jamie had to go away and do all the work. Bell matched Robertson's nuances and took the character in other directions. Gadd bulked up to give the older Reuben a menacing quality. If you keep Niall and Reuben the same all the way through the show, you're not really telling a good story because you're showing no growth within your characters, Gadd said. When the two are young, anything's possible, and life is difficult and confusing and adolescent, Gadd said. But at the same time, the world's your oyster because you're existing in a very singular way. I was very keen for them to be seen as different people. Taste. restaurant news. It's mimosa time. Here's where you should get brunch. Feels like everyone's always looking for what's next. When people ask me where to eat, they almost always want to try something new. It seems like they're hoping that I'll name a restaurant they've never heard of. That happens to be the restaurant of their dreams. As we stand on the horizon of another summer, let's take inventory of what we already have. This winter was difficult for local restaurants. As poet Alex Dimitrievich says, everyone truly deserves a flute of champagne for having made it this far. Here's a look at some of the best restaurants serving brunch, broken down by mood. Put some orange juice in that flute, it's mimosa time. Newest brunch hotspot. A recent brunch at Mira on Elmwood Avenue inspired this gratitude exercise. Not for the first time, I thought while sitting at Mira. It's nice that we have this now. Mira's Saturday brunch is for walk-ins only, dinner style. Walk up to the counter, choose from a tight and nimble menu of good options. In classic brunch spirit, Mira accommodates a range of morning appetites. Hungry brunchers could eat a whole lamb burger with a few fistfuls of crispy fries. Those with a sweet tooth can have French toast with huckleberry jam. On a recent morning, the quiche served with lightly dressed salad was a slice of custardy perfection. Pastry chef Gino Occasio's treats glowed on the counter. Deep red huckleberry glaze glistened atop Mom's ricotta cookie, and sugar sprinkled on a malted milk bambolini donut. Mira's dining room, dark, romantic, and candlelit by night, is bright and fun for brunch. Curtis Mayfield's Move On Up played over the speakers as most tables filled with brunch cocktails, coffee, matcha lattes served in dinner mugs and food. Summer will bring breezy patio seating. Music, please. Imagine a warm and sunny late weekend morning on Southern Junction's covered backyard patio. You got a plate of Texas-style barbecue, maybe a cinnamon roll in front of you. Cellist Jen Mulhern provides a backdrop of live music. Mulhern's Sunday Brunch Cello Series will return to Southern Junction, Connecticut Street around Memorial Day. There's Sunday Jazz Brunch at the Terrace at Delaware Park and Jazz Boleyn, Main Street, Amherst. Jazz Buffalo has held a weekly jazz brunch nearly every Sunday at the Terrace for 9 years. It's most popular during patio season, says Jazz Buffalo founder Tony Zambito, when the jazz pairs with bird's eye views of Holt Lake. Brunch is the event. Waxlight Bar-O-Vin on Chandler Street has been opening for brunch every other month. Each brunch follows a different themed multi-course menu. Just after Christmas, the theme was English Sunday Roast. Guests can also add optional champagne pairings from the restaurant's James Beard nominated beverage program. Waxlight's next brunch will be from 11:30 to 1:30 June 7th. Keep an eye on Waxlight's website and social media for news of the theme and reservation openings. Afternoon tea at Asa Ransom House, Main Street, Clarence, is an experience like no other in Buffalo, transporting guests to the English countryside every Thursday or Saturday. In a homey and old-fashioned dining room, enjoy tea, coffee, and three-tiered stand of pastries, finger sandwiches, and scones, asking for a flourish of Devonshire cream and jam. See and be seen. The hottest place in Buffalo on any given weekend morning is the Remedy House patio. It's almost impossible to not run into someone you know. Everyone is usually on the same mission. They want Remedy House's cult favorite egg on a roll. The garlic alio is always worth the extra $1, and pastries from French Bakery Butterblock across the street. It's a casual version of brunch with some of the best people watching, outfit spotting, and dog greeting around. It's maybe the closest thing Buffalo has to a European piazza. Get sporty. The Banshee Irish Pub on Franklin Street opens for brunch at 9 a.m. on every weekend. It's also full of soccer fans. Soccer games are on each television screen. The Banshee is also one of the rare spots for a full Irish breakfast or Ulster fry with all the fixings: baked beans, potato bread, and blood pudding. Remember the classics? When the weekend rolls around, Buffalo's reliable breakfast spots often see lines out the door. They're not new and flashy, but they are beloved. Go Greek at one of the area's many long-standing Greek diners. Costa's on Hurdle, Nick's Place on Elmwood and Kenmore, and Sophia's on Military Road, to name a few. Swing by Swan Street Diner for brunch classics in a vintage diner car. Betty's on Virginia Street is an especially good choice as soon as the weather warms up, thanks to its plentiful and covered patio seating. Did someone say patio? Roseland's Atlas on Rhode Island Street also makes a nice weekend brunch, which, unlike many brunch spots, you can make reservations for ahead of time. Roseland's offers its signature house-made pastas for brunch, along with favorites such as the hollandaise, smothered eggs benedict, seasonally changing crepes, and smoked salmon. Once the weather turns, enjoy brunch on Roseland's huge side patio, which is fenced in and tucked away from the street. Restaurant news. Buffalo Sabre fans are developing their own version of Bill's Mafia. The Saberhood travels to local bars to watch the games together. You want to strike when the iron is hot, says founder Brandon Carr. TV critic Alan Pergament writes about Larkinville chef Darian Bryan's origin story on Next Level Chef. Food events. To celebrate Cinco de Mayo, the Westside Bazaar is hosting a global taco tour from 6 to 7:30 May 5th, Niagara Street. Tickets are $40, include 7 tacos, 1 from each of the bazaar's restaurants, and 2 drinks. Mother's Day brunch will be served at the following restaurants May 10th. The Admiral Room, Aroma on Bryant, Arts Cafe, The Barrel Factory, Becker Farms, Brazen Brewing, Buffalo River Works, The Birdhouse, Chez Ami at the Curtis Hotel, Drift Restaurant at the Hideaway Bay, Falafel Bar, Grandma Moore's, The Gypsy Parlor, Hamburg Brewing Company, Jay's White Elephant, Jazz Boline, La Verda Cafe, Resurgence Brewing Company, the Riverfield Roycroft Inn, Statler, Buffalo, Sunset Bar and Grill, T-Squared Teas and Taps, Tapo at the Buffalo History Museum, and the Terrace Room at Delaware Park. Time and prices vary. You have been listening to articles and features from the May 3rd issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times Opinion section. And at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book,